do the intro. I also have sound queued up for us too, so we're good to go on that. Um, I'm just okay. I've got this. You're listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is August 22nd, and we are covering the Contenders NA and EU this weekend, as well as OGN Apex Season 4. So, Jax, August 22nd, you know what it is? It's not quite there, technically, but
We should have pushed it back a day.
we could have pushed it back a day, and then it would be officially on a year since we started this mess.
This, like I said, there's a really good chance that this never was gonna happen. I was so close to just backing out. That day, like the day of, or especially the day before, it's like I don't really want to do this. And I did the first episode. I was like, all right. And there have been a couple of times I was really close to just messaging you. It was like, look, I'm over this.
I mean, we've definitely talked about that a few times.
Some of the metas were just not fun to cover
to watch.
But,
yeah, I mean that's
this
true.
last week was rather interesting in professional Overwatch.
Yeah, we're seeing a shift in meta. I wonder if we're gonna land on a set meta again in about a month's time or so, where everybody's gonna be running the same thing or not.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a shift in meta. It's a shift in meta heroes, but
yeah, and that's what I mean.
It's still rather divey.
Well, yeah,
bursty, but
absolutely, it absolutely is going to always be bursty. There's going to be an aspect of that, I think, in the games. We're not going to go back to that tank heavy play.
Go back to that 3-1-2-4-0-2 meta, man. Like,
yeah, well, sometimes we might see a couple three tanks run. Not to get ahead of ourselves here, but. That aside, I just wanted to pause for a moment. First off, all you listeners that are listening to us continually, thank you, subscribers. It's huge for us to have a number of you guys that are pretty dedicated to us. We're thankful for that. I know we don't advertise much, so the fact that you guys stuck with us has really meant something. I'm glad for it.
I took one marketing class in college, man. It just I didn't learn enough to do advertisements.
Well, self promotion is a heck of a thing to do. I think both of us rather talk than do that, and we don't get paid for this. So you know what? It's not that big of a deal, but we might do a couple things in the future too. So if you ever see us on social media, make sure you follow us at Lapelos, at Jax_Blake, or at OW Rundown. That's all of our Twitter addresses too, but you might see us post again sometime on the competitive subreddit.
I mean, speaking of Twitter, I can't believe no one after last episode reached out to Lepelos to just berate him for saying Surefour is overrated and Taimu needed to be benched. I put the call out. I asked people to tweet at Lepelos. Let him know. Let him feel your anger at these statements. And no one did. So apparently Lepelos, they agree with you. I think they might have, I think they might disagree with you now after the weekend what we saw Taimu.
I mean, we can I might agree. I might agree that I might have been overstepping my bounds with the Taimu thing, but listen, that was based on his past performances where he hasn't seemed to be at his best recently. This weekend we'll get into it, but he definitely performed well this weekend. There's no doubt about that. That said, I think most people do agree with me, Jax. I make a reasonable case when it comes to calling people out on what's been going well. But
we haven't seen Surefour play competitively, since wasn't even Contender Season 0 since I didn't qualify, but the qualifier for Season 0. But that being said, though, I too want to thank everybody for sticking with us for a year.
Tell your friends, tell your cats.
2 or 3 weeks where we actually took vacations. Although for Christmas break, it wasn't us taking a vacation; it was just literally nothing to cover. But I just want to talk about the changes we've made to the show over the year. Those of you who were here in the beginning, the show right now is quite a bit different. Where early on, Lepelos and I'm the one that handles the schedule. So every week I would come up with a bunch of games. Well, early on we covered everything. Going back to
like in depth,
Atlantic Showdown, which was around this time last year, and going into E-League qualifiers. We there was a weekend I should say, where Lepelos and I had to cover 14 games. And back then, we would both watch all of the games. in every round. Then after that, I kind of split it up where we wouldn't both watch the same rounds. I would watch a round, Lepos would watch a round, and we would just play off each other like that because it was just far too much to watch. To where we're at right now, where lately we haven't been going into much in-depth coverage. We do it for finals, grand finals and things like that of major tournaments. Not even major tournaments, but of tournaments that we followed. Um, and we do like right now. If I take a look at the schedule, I have you know first year, say a few words. It's more than a few words. But after that, I have Let's Talk, where Leplos and I, we're just going to talk about Contenders, North America, Europe, and OGN Season 4, because there's so much that went on. For us to go into in-depth coverage for any one of those three leagues, we would be here for 2 hours minimum per league. So we're just going to talk about all of the games that happen. And
I think that's sort of the future for us too, though, Jax. Like we're gonna have to simplify everything and try and like I keep on saying this, shorten things down. But I mean, we listen. We're doing an audio podcast. If you guys want us to do a video analysis of stuff, then you guys need to let us know. We can and would do that for certain games. But right now, for the podcast, so we're gonna work on keeping it pretty short and
that's what I wanted to ask people is like, well, since we have, I mean, going by the numbers, we have a small audience of people who tune in every week, via subscriptions and who listen. I just want to get a little feedback from, like, do you like the current format that we do, where we just talk about everything and we don't go into much depth, or do you prefer it when we went, sorry, my phone is ringing, when we went deep into coverage, where we went round by round of a series and just broke it down with times and just very in depth. Like if we were to do that again, there's no way we could cover everything that happened. We could do 2 games a week like that. 3 is a bit of a stretch where we really go in depth, and it just feels like we would be listening out a lot, right? We'd be missing out on talking about a lot of the things that happen. So I just want to get some feedback from people. Do they want the more in-depth? Do they like the shortened version? Not really a shortened version.
Yeah, but the condensed discussion about all of the esports scene that we've seen. Yeah, I agree. It would definitely help direct us. For the time being, we're going to go forward, Jax, I think, with like obviously today, but next week and until we get some ideas, go on with this idea that we're going to try and cover a breadth of games, not in as much detail, with like summary.
I mean, I think the last one we did was in episode 47, where we just had the OGN final between Lunatic High and Count du Panther, right? That was a 7-game final, and we went, we spent the entire podcast just talking about that.
I think we also had the post game on that one where we did view one of the plays on Volskaya. Was that that week, or was that the previous week? The semifinals?
That was where we did the post game on Volskaya. It was Rogue versus Immortals. I don't want to say it was at the Beat Invitationals, where we actually went and we did the video. Like even then, right? It just shows. For those who haven't seen it, I posted a link on our Twitter, at OW Rundown. But it was what, a 30-second segment of actual game footage that we spent 15 minutes talking about, because we just broke everything down that we could.
So covering stuff like that, we can do that if you guys want, but that might be something different that we do and look at that specifically. So that'd probably be something video based. If you guys want us to get into that, we can definitely do it. I do have YouTube that I'll probably be actually in the future, Jax, I'm going to be saving our podcast on Twitch as well as exporting it to YouTube, so more locations for people to find out about us. But why don't we get into the actual coverage this week? I think we've done a good job, but we have some stuff to talk about. Contenders. Why don't we start in Contenders this week, Jax?
Normally we start with Korea, but since I was looking at the schedule and I said, what was hot this week? And I said, well, we got to go with Contenders. OGN was a little spicy. There was a really good series, and it's a series that I would love to just sit and talk for an hour on in OGN, but the same could be said about Contenders levels. Like if we were to start in North America, which we're going to do, right? If we were to start with the first game that was played, it was the game everyone is looking forward to.
Yeah.
And it's Envy versus Immortals. And I'm telling you, like, if we were to sit and break this down, we would still be here next week talking about it. But
I mean, we could do it super short, Jax, but Let's not do it super short. Why don't we talk a little bit about the maps? I'll set you up here a little bit, and then you can take us away. We're talking about Envious, of course, versus Immortals in the very first game of the North American Contenders this weekend. Very interesting matchup. We were expecting a lot of Immortals. We wanted to see if Envious came back on their slump that they've been known to have a few times, that we've seen them have a few times coming out of breaks. I expected Envious to come out a little sluggish and Immortals to come out firing. Jax on Oasis did not see us coming out at all.
It's the Doomfist meta right now, Liplos. And for Immortals, they on Oasis, they failed their Doomfist check.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have checks all the time. There's a fair check, there's a somber check, there's now a Doomfist check, and Immortals just didn't meet it.
And of course, who's
not
running that
but,
Doomfist though, man? It is none other than Effect, right?
Sorry, I said Envy. Effect. What a pickup Effect was for Envy. Like his Tracer in OGN Season 3 was fantastic. I feel, he carried Envy multiple matches where normally we're used to Taimu being the carry. And here, Leplos, he's doing it again. And when I say carry, I mean, yes, he did a lot of work, but he drew so much attention and was causing so much, trouble that Taimu on his McCree, and I love me some good McCree, Taimu was left free to just shoot skulls. And it was, I mean, as a Los Angeles native, I'm a bit concerned about the only team that has been announced for Los Angeles, because I'm looking at this and I'm saying, Immortals, what's happened here?
Definitely a disappointing start for Immortals. They didn't get enough out of their lineup, across their lineup, right? I can't point to anybody and say they played an excellent game where the team let that person down. Like the whole Immortals lineup just looked a little flat.
I mean, flat, but like with Fate, Fate, we praise his praise his Winston play previously. He was a little over aggressive at times, and he was punished for it. Envy, the actual Envy player, sorry, not Envy, but Kareev, Verbo, Height. I mean, it's just looking at the Immortals. I'm just looking at the Immortals roster right now, and it's not that any one of them had a really bad game.
Yeah,
it's just that they
didn't have a good
I
one.
think you said they were flat. I think that's what you said. Flat actually works because you go into Nambani 3-2 Envy, go to Volskaya Lepos 1-0 full hold. You go to Watchpoint Gibraltar 3-2. Now I want to talk about what was it on Volskaya, right? Immortals had a game plan to dive Chips, and they dove him very well. Chips died multiple times, but they never capitalized on it because they were then punished for diving like that.
Fate going down early so many times, like not just in Volskaya in general, but especially Volskaya, that dive that you mentioned there, catching his life on that too.
Taimu on the Sombra, fantastic work. Effects Tracer, like there was one time he just sat in a corner and waited, and Kareev came by on the Zen, and Kareev is a really good Zen that we've talked about before, and Effect, he just one-clipped him. And I just literally, someone in chat and Twitch, I just happened to look, he just wrote disgusting because it was gross how he just murdered him. But not just that, right? Agilities was very quiet. The ultimates for Immortals weren't really combined very well.
You mentioned the somber check, Jax, and they definitely had trouble with that as well, too, right?
Like, I mean,
Taimu Sombra showing up first on Nambani defense. Let me say that 2-3-1 on Envy's defense there, and it was working out there. Like, and that's not a good sign for when Volskaya or 2CP is coming.
On Nambani, they had to rely on agilities, popping the Dragon Blade and getting going, but for me though, the thing that stood out on Volskaya, right, would be Immortals attack. I want to take us back to Lunatic High versus Kung Fu Pantera Lepelos in the grand finals of OGN, where we actually talked about this. Lunatic High, they played the attacking Sombra. We're not a real big fan of attacking Sombra. So there's one mega health pack that overlooks the point, and then there's a second mega health pack on the route between A and B. And Lunatic High chose to hack that mega health pack and play off of that in order for Eska to get his ultimate. Well, Immortals did the same thing. But what is it that you said? I said I liked it because it gave them good positioning and it positioned Eska well to get the mega on B point. You said yes, but the problem though, Leplos, is it's not at the point. That health pack is away from the point, right?
Yeah.
And if you're the defenders, you were saying if you're Kangdu Pantera, why would you take that fight?
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And here, Leplos, Envy, they did exactly that. They didn't take the fight. There was no reason for Envy to go and fight Immortals over that mega health pack. They had their own mega, they had their own positioning, and it worked. I mean, yes, there was some poke that went back and forth. Poke always happens, and Immortals did build the EMP, but ultimately it got nothing done. They weren't able. I can't say they weren't able, but Envy didn't fall into the trap that Conjure Pantera did, and just said, "Okay, you can stay there."
So, this is a trap that a lot of teams listen. We can
Just don't
talk
take the
about this
fight.
idea. If you haven't seen it before, or you may not know how to react to it. AKA Meta Athena on Dorado attack back in season 1 was it when they did the ice
Yeah,
wall over the side and
same thing. Why fight?
why
Moods
fight
at high
them
levels.
back?
I mean,
Exactly, right?
why
I mean,
why-
here's the thing. It's a check to see if you can throw them off mentally, and if it
Right.
doesn't work, then you look like you're the one caught with your pants down. Immortals looking sort of like that on that fight, right? You take the large health pack there. It's like, well, that's great, but if they're not fighting you over it, what's better about that one than one of the small ones, right? Like nothing's better at that point.
And then we go into Watch Point, where I think Immortals for me looked the best on their attack. Envy ran Taimu Sombra on Watch Point first point. Didn't really work. I did like that Envy showed restraint when they lost the point Levelos, and that they had the chance. Coco could have dove in to try to do that last second heroic save that people do, but they backed out because they know what that spawn is like, right?
Yeah.
He says, "Look, we're just gonna back off. We're gonna reset fully." And while Immortals did cap second, they ran out of steam.
Yeah.
But for me,
And
Immortals
early,
looked
too.
their best the entire game on their watch point attack. Sadly, though, they didn't play defense Leplos, and Taimu brought out the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
And Taimu did not fall into the Widow's trap. Taimu, I think, is the best in the world at avoiding the Widow's trap. And some of the flick headshots that he was getting, 'cause they
beautiful.
showed the replays.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you jealous, man, for him to be able to do that.
I mean, I can tell you in a number of games that anybody hits shots like that would be getting accused to be being a hacker, But it's great seeing this level of play coming out of him, and in a pro match, and it really shows you the possibilities of player skill out there too. It's incredible, and that's why people like to watch the Widowmaker. It's incredible to see the
It's
hits.
so easy to fall into the trap where
It
you
is,
think,
though.
I'm gonna hit my. I missed that
Don't
shot.
worry.
I'm gonna hit my next one.
We're
gonna
gonna
hit my
talk
next
about
one.
that later on a Gibraltar match. It definitely happens, I think.
All right. Well, so from their levels, we have Envy taking it 4-0 over Immortals. I expected Envy to win. I actually hope I said Envy was going to win last week. I don't remember what I picked.
Honestly, I don't remember my picks. It's good I have a short memory, to be honest, because I feel like I got a number wrong this week. I don't think I could have picked this was 4-0. I think I probably took Immortals, and I think you took Envy, but I could be wrong.
It wasn't even close. I'm sorry to say, Immortals, as good as they were in season 0, but what was it everybody was saying? Well, Rogue isn't here, Envy isn't here. So while it's good that they won, we don't really know anything. And for me, Immortals going forward, you've got to work on your anti Doomfist play, and just the coordination that I'm used to seeing from Immortals. The timing on their ultimates was off, and Fate was just diving. He was diving so much and dying, but I think a lot of that is just Doomfist being slightly broken. But
yeah, I wonder if as well, it was Envy's plan to focus on Fate as well a little bit more than he's used to, so he got punished more than he's used to, maybe in scrims or something like that. It's hard to tell some of these game plan things, but regardless, he was punished for his aggression. And that is something that we've talked about Envy doing in the past, and like to see them doing again, which is other team gives them a mistake that they can capitalize on. They do that every time, and this is the Envy that we were used to talking about last year. It's good to see them coming back and doing that and playing at a high level.
Only thing I worry about with Envy going forward, Mickey, he played Zarya a couple times.
Nabani, I think, was
slightly suspect. It's something that Mickey needs to work on.
Something
But
that maybe a sub could help out with or something like
I
that.
mean, they have Sinatra waiting. We
I
don't
know,
know,
Jax.
what the terms are. But let's go into the second game, which I mean, Envy over Immortals 4-0, and
Not
let's
exciting
go.
scoreline, exciting because what the game was. Rogue versus Envision, man. We were expecting this one to be a 4-0
I
immediately for
mean,
Rogue.
Envision
Like,
got in because Liquid, well, Liquid is no longer in the Overwatch game. So I don't know if they bought it or if they were given the slot, but they're here, Lepelos. And just to start you out, 2-1 Envision on Lijiang Tower.
yeah, AKM's
Um,
starting off well in that first round, Doomfist coming out, Rogue being like, yeah, we've got this, no problem. But then close round on Night Market, then Envision able to come back in a tough fight, able to hold out on the third one on Garden for the win. Jax, I didn't even think Envision would take a single map off of Rogue, and here we are, first
I
map done out of Rogue.
I'm gonna say I was a bit stunned by this, and I think Rogue was stunned. The DPS coming out of Envision, to me, Envision Lepelos, something I think we've talked about in our own games and in other pro games that we talked about was Rogue has the talent, Envision brought the teamwork. I
I
just
Jax, you say that. I want to talk right off the start of Nimbani. One of the most beautiful moments of that coming through on Envision's attack.
what a
Beautiful
dive,
dive right
what a
off the
dive.
start
Yeah,
to get the support on the side of Road down.
I mean,
Sani's Farah right there hitting the shots like you wouldn't believe. I mean, yes, Rogue do come back for a hold, but Sani's there on the Farah being like, this is NA meta. Let me 2 kill barrage you to secure that A point.
I mean, Nabani 2-1 for Rogue Lepelos. I'm just moving a little bit quickly here because I just noticed I spent way too much time on Envy versus Immortals, but I just really enjoyed that game so much. But Volskaya Lepelos 2-1 Envision, Watchpoint Gibraltar 3-1 Envision, and for me, looking at this, while AKM brought out the Doomfist, I'm not sure he's the best to play Doomfist for them. I need to see more of it, but
Honestly, like I feel like as time has gone on, ACAM relative to other players has not been keeping up his level of play.
his hit scan is fantastic,
Uh,
but
with the
his
diva
rim is
out these days,
okay.
I'm not sure if he's been doing as well as much on Soldier. That might be part of it why I'm being hard on him. But like, let's be honest, it's just not the performance from their team. Period. Like you can't drop this game against Envision. Your first game in the
I
series,
mean,
you've talked so much about how strong you are, and then you come out against this team that shouldn't even be here, and you lose
this
to them.
but people love the underdog, and I love what Envision did here. Like I said, I'm a huge teamwork guy, and Envision was just clicking on all cylinders. Like the other thing that I'm Rogue gave it up a lot at the end. Like if you take the last match of Watchpoint, they had the chance to full hold, and Envision just said, "No, we're going to take it." And for me, looking at Rogue Lepelos, and we made the excuse at the World Cup that they had 3 weeks off. Like they were feeling a little bit burnt out after all the games that they played, so their owner gave them like 2 to 3 weeks off before the World Cup to just rest, relax, recharge your batteries. And so they came into the World Cup and they looked. I'm gonna use this word again. Probably gonna use it a lot this week. Flat, right? If you go back and look at the World Cup, you're thinking we had the best single map ever when they played on Hollywood against. And sadly, I don't remember who they played, but
Denmark, I believe that was
yeah,
like
it
the
was
like 8-7 was it? I think or
yeah, the best
something
map
like
I've
that.
ever seen in Overwatch. But
Most attack oriented map we've seen for sure. But
I'm looking at this right, and then I start to think because I brought this up to you after this ended. I says, Lepelos, if your wins and you're looking, they had the announcement where Wins is going to be playing at the Quake Championships with some of Team Liquid. They
yeah,
brought in a sub who is Uncle has said is only going to play one game, and it's the upcoming game because Wins is going to be playing at the Quake Championship.
yeah.
And it's just something that you have to, as outside spectator, you think about. You're saying to yourself, he's focusing on Quake Lepelos, and
Yeah,
he's practicing
maybe not
Quake.
playing as much.
That's taking. I mean, I'm pretty sure Rogue is still scrimming, as a team, but his focus is split. Like, there's no way to get away from that.
Yeah.
And
The
I just,
Do you think he's the crux of the issue on the team though? Like, do you think it's his focus. Like I'm not
The
saying it
synergy
won't.
wasn't there. Like
I won't.
when
Yeah.
Rogue came, when Rogue showed up, I want to say it was in a melee after they went dormant, right, over the winter, and then they came back, and there was a series on Li Jiang where Uncle and Nico were in perfect synergy, where Uncle put Discord on and Nico killed like 4 people instantly. And I'm just not seeing it here. I'm not
Yeah.
seeing the team focus that I'm used to. Like, I'm sorry, as much as I'm glad Envision won this,
Yeah.
Rogue should have destroyed them.
By previous records. So now let me say, like obviously great plays out of Jaru. I want to say particularly on Volskaya,
Yes.
getting kills through an EMP at one point on A point attack was huge. Again, helping hold out on that B point on their defense for 6 or 7 minutes there. Ridiculously good plays out of Envision. But that all said, you expect more teamwork coming out of Rogue for how the quality and level of play that they've been at. Wasn't there.
I
It's definitely disappointing to see out of their side. If you're a
I
Rogue
just looked
fan,
at chat, and this will be the last thing I say about Rogue. Toastlock, a viewer here in chat, said Rogue described as playing the same 8 heroes for 6 months and not really improving, and that's honestly that's perfect, Leplos. Rogue, look, I mean, yes, AKM came out on the Doomfist briefly and didn't
tried to
really.
show
It
it
was
looks like they're
okay.
trying to toy with him. You know what I mean? Like, well, we've got this kind of
Yeah,
attitude.
but looking at it and you looking at Rogue, and I'm saying they actually haven't improved. This is the same, like
Yeah,
everybody else around the world, Leplos
I
is
mean,
improving as we saw at the World Cup.
we,
And
we've
Rogue,
said
I think
we've said this
we'll
many
see.
times about Rogue too. Diva play, Jax. Their
Well,
diva play, was it there? Was it good? Like, no. I mean, the answer is no. So yeah, consider if I'd said Immortals was flat, then I don't know. Rogue is concave at this point. They're just sucking so much weight down on them from their break. I guess there's no reason for them to come out as flat as bad as they did here, and they need to pick it up. No doubt. They've got to feel a little heat now, having lost their first game in NA since I don't know, over a year.
yeah, Leplos, I mean, this is their first loss the first loss to a non-Korean team this year.
On the flip side, Envision,
Huge,
you've got to be
huge.
you got to be feeling great that you took that. Your practice has paid off. Now other teams have to feel that you're a bit more of a threat than they thought. So
Leplos, let's go into the next series here. Congarna versus 5 Hour Detroit Renegades. I think going into this, we didn't really know what to expect from either team. I'm gonna briefly go through the score lines. We had Congarna 2-0 on Lijiang Tower, 5-4 Kings Road, 2-1 Volsky Industries, and 3-0 Watchpoint Gibraltar.
all for Congarna.
There were
There are great
again,
moments for Renegades. Like, let's be honest.
yes,
Like, let's talk about King's Row.
yeah,
Huge attack time, right? Mega
fantastic.
Chew starting off that Hanzo doing really good work. 3:03 on the clock versus 116 Jax. That should be a map
A win.
right there
That should be a
for
win.
Renegades. Number two, you lose that Jax. You've killed what fight back momentum you had,
I mean,
right?
Lepos, you say that, and then I go to Volsky Industries, where I'm pretty sure people have seen the clip or
Yes,
they've seen the tweet of Reinforced, in the
like
green room between rounds watching. He had
curled in a
hide
ball.
his face
Yeah,
because Lepolos, you pull an attacking C9, not defense Lepolos. You're attacking and you fail to reach the point. But to compound it, Lepolos, you had Graviton Surge, you had EMP, you had Death Blossom. What
yeah.
are you waiting for?
Honestly, it looked like that. Like, I went back and watched, like, you got to watch the lead up to it because it was clear that they were having some communication issues. Like, the Sombra sort of faked Mangachu out. They were sort of saying, like, when do we do this? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Probably. Like, I'm obviously
Lepolos,
trying to put
with
myself in their
those
shoes.
3 ultimates, you are the initiator. With the current Zarya,
But
you're not escaping. I mean, and
I'm
here's the deal with
yeah.
the EMP, with the Reaper just cleans up Lepolos because they're all stuck in the Graviton and they can't block, they can't do anything because the EMP is on them. You
This is
can't
a
let the round in and not use these ultimates.
this was a round that you could say the moment got to them, as what I'm trying to say. Like, their teamwork wasn't there to engage in, because, like, they knew they had to move together. They knew they had to hit that initiation. But you can watch. I think it was Sherlocky on the Sombra there on attack Sombra, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And he looks like he's about to go in an EMP, but he gets sort of damaged and he gets out. and then that delays them because they want him there for the MP. And you can look at them just be hesitant there, like, are we going? Are we ready? You
Yeah.
know, is everything good? And that's not the decisive action you need if you're going to be taking that kind of fight in a shows. That's why the C9 happened, right? Like, you know, C9 isn't just simply, oh, they forgot about it. It's about everything that leads up to that, right? All the little mistakes that add up to why you're not paying attention or getting your timing down right. And those are what you have to crack. You can't just be like, well, you got to land on the point. Like, yeah, that's a given. They already know that, right? Like, they're mentally they know that. It's about removing all the issues mentally that caused their break between we have to go now, like, and get the timing right. And there was a lot of them leading up to that.
The other issue for me was the benching of Jesus for Exreti. We don't know what the scrims are like, right? So
Yeah,
I never really thought Jesus was the problem with Renegades in the past.
I
I
mean,
always felt he was rather solid, and maybe he's not A tier like other hit scan players like Grim or Taimu or the Sure 4 who you say is overrated. Not overrated, but washed up.
well,
I forgot. What did you say?
I'm
Exactly,
saying
Ruffalo?
overrated because everyone talks about him being
Yeah,
like #1 DPS, and then you see him come out and perform even in Worlds, and he's like
he is so quiet at the
he's
World
quiet.
Cup. Wow,
But
man.
here's the thing: you watch teams, you watch like Argentina play,
Klaus. Yeah.
underdog battles, and the guy was still able to show up and be like, "That's an amazing tracer." Can you tell me that Surefour did that? No, you can't.
He's very good, but
You know
we
who we
know
did
so.
do that on Team Canada? Mangachu on Farah. But here's the problem: you talk about Renegades. Mangachu's on Renegades. I don't feel Mangachu. I mentioned his Hanzo being good. Dude is great at running some of these off meta heroes. I don't feel like he's at that 95 to 100% level on all of the primary heroes that you need him to be sometimes. And
As long as we've been watching Renegades since I don't whatever NG Winter Premiere, Mangachu is the catalyst. Leplos. When he
when he goes,
plays well,
it's incredible, right?
they're
Like, they
good.
look great.
Like that King's Row attack, Mangachu was on point with the Hanzo
Yeah.
arrows. And when
It's
he's not, it's just but that's a lot to put on one person, right?
Yeah,
He can't.
listen, it's a team game and it's a DPS player. Shouldn't they carry more? No, I also think I would be interested to wonder if he's also like a team leader,
Correct.
as well. And because, like, even when he's not playing well, if he's leading well, I think Renegade still shows signs of doing well. But there are moments, and again, that Volskaya C9 moment is one of them, where I think he just has to tighten up his play a bit more, right? Like, I don't necessarily need him to go off as much. I need him to be more consistent, and then I think Renegades will be in a better place as a whole. So, like, Renegades, I remember when they came out, they looked great, with some good ideas and teamwork. They just need to tighten up their play, individual play, I think, a little bit, and they'll be making a strong case for him. Kangana, similar
Congrats.
story.
I do want to say congrats to Congarna because we've been talking a lot about Renegades who lost and Congarna didn't win 4-0. Wasn't the cleanest 4-0 win. I think
Yeah,
if Renegades had not made so many mental errors, not just on Volskaya,
they could have taken at least
but
two maps.
Congarna, I saw a lot of weaknesses that they need to work on. And
It was a
Lucan's,
good game though to
yes.
watch, regardless. For
I
sure.
mean, yes, it's another one of these 4-0s, and it was still the scoreline would have you think it wasn't close. It was rather close. But then
Yeah.
Lepelos, let's jump to the last series, and this one I'm sad to say I did not get time to watch it as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it has my dark horse for this tournament or this season, and that's FaZe Clan. You look at FaZe's roster. I'm sorry, it is too good to not compete with the very best. And they start out on Nepal Lepelos 2-1 to FaZe. I actually just linked you in chat the clip of Shadowburn getting a
Yeah.
3K on Doomfist,
We'll
and
put that in chat. Sorry, as well.
holy crap, sorry, I just clicked the tab and it just blew my ears apart. But I want to give Factor Fiction credit for setting him up with the with the Reinhardt Earthshatter into the Doomfist Meteor Strike, and I don't think we have a name for it yet. Just like I don't think the community has settled on the name for Zarya into Meteor Strike. Some people were saying Space Jam. I don't know if it's gonna stick or not.
Yeah,
But
we'll see. Yeah, Space
that
Jam's okay.
teamwork
Grab
though,
Fist, I think, is the straightforward one that makes sense for now. But
FNR GFE while I said FaZe is the dark horse, I'm a huge FNRGFE fan. They've got a number of players that I like. I'm just gonna go through the scores because we are way over budget on this season here. 2-1 FaZe on Nepal, 3-2 on Numbani, 2-1 to FNRGFE on Volskaya, and then Watchpoint 1-0 to FaZe. The thing from what I saw, um, I need to see more out of the DPS from FNRGFE.
Yeah, the
And mainly
main one.
Buds.
Yeah, I was going to agree with you. Buds, I don't think showing up as well. His Pharaoh was decent at some points, but then Shadowburn would show him up at others on it. There's some questionable moments on each of the play. Shadowburn coming through on the Doomfist, man. I think it's a new character for him that will do well in the future. Carpe, excellent play, man.
What
Go
a pickup, dude. I mean, I'm
he
not
had
saying this
multiple
fantastic Korean import here, Leplos.
multiple pulse bombs with multiple kills. I think on their defense, was it on Gibraltar, he had 2 3-kill pulse bombs. It was incredible for them on that side. FNRGFE having a little bit of time finding themselves, like difficulty finding themselves in this matchup. I don't think it's a surprise that they lost, considering what their play looked like.
I mean, I like that they took a map. I was hoping they would compete a little bit more. I was just watching Numbani and on their attack. They struggled, but they persevered, and then they ran out of gas.
Yeah.
But looking at it, Bonnie, he just was having trouble staying alive. Uma, I feel, was getting outplayed by Factor Fiction. Clockwork was just, I mean, we kind of jumped on Bud, but Clockwork was rather quiet.
Yeah, he was definitely quiet as well. So it came down largely to, like, when FNRG FE did the best, it was sort of like I have here when they won on Volskaya. Some of it came down to the work of Coolmat and Bani doing really well. For instance, I think their OT, because their OT attack, which allowed them to take it, ended up being this huge 2-kill EMP to self-destruct combo there late in a staggered fight there on that B point.
Right.
And you got to have plays out of that, and Bonnie having that early hack on the large health back of the defenders ultimately set themselves up for that, right? And that's huge, coming out of your supposed support player bringing out the third DPS instead of support, right? So, they get it where it matters. It was a close one, but they got it where it matters, and that's what you need to take a map.
To next week now, or do we want to wait and do
we'll do the future stuff in the future. Okay. Let's go ahead and just get through all the games, because that's just NA. Jax, let's move on to the EU scene.
I could spend even more time on EU because we've got Misfits with new players. We've got Cloud9, formerly Laser Kittens, with new players, Lepelos. And again, like Envy versus Immortals, this was the game I wanted to see.
Yeah. And
what a game this was. The scoreline, I mean, I might as well just get this out of the way, Lepelos. Yeah. Misfits 2-0 Lijiang Tower, 2-1 Eichenwald, 2-1 Volskaya, 2-1 Dorado. What a game. I mean, if we're being honest with each other, we did not expect a 4-0 and a dominant 4-0 like this
coming out of the new Misfits roster. I have to say, Logic's great work.
What a pickup, Lepelos.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about huge pickups in the EU, being Boombox previously for the side of, I think it was, 1-2-3 that got him?
No, Boombox got
ended up E United.
Boombox,
yeah, that's right. This is a new one, though. Logic, huge pickups for Misfits. He's doing well. Tavik working out well with him. He's brought out the Doomfist there on Eichenwald.
Listen.
Such good play.
Cloud9 EU Lepelos completely bamboozled by the McCree Doomfist start the game. Not just that, but just completely bamboozled by Doomfist, period. They had no answer. Now, we should also point out for Cloud9 Lepelos, they picked up Nevix. Nevix, okay, if we just go through the roster quickly, Reinforced was benched. He's an analyst now. Nevix left the team. So they brought in Swoosh Lepelos, a Genji player. He's now main tanking. They brought in Logix to play the Tracer. And again, I'm just going to point out, I say this right quick, Tracer is OP. When you look at how many games, like, you look at all these teams, right, Tracer is, like, for him, what he did on Tracer with those pulse bombs, but not just that, but the blinks, the recall, she's so strong, man. But
I mean, some of the stats out there. I think there's a stat that used to compare like Soon and some of the other traces, and then somebody was like, "How about bringing Logic's into it?" And then Logic's pulse bombs uh,
There was
was higher,
months
and
ago,
it's clear that he is like really, really good on those pulse bombs.
months
It's incredible.
months ago, I was watching. I don't know what I was watching. It was some series. I'm in a lot of chats, right? And I want to say it was either Cruz or Morty from E United, and we're just talking tracers. And I was saying Soon is the best. Actually, he was saying Log. He said Logix might be the best tracer in the West. And I was like, wait a minute, what about Soon? And he's like, I don't know, but it's really close. This was at a time I didn't even know who Logix was, but
Yeah,
he scrimmed, right?
yeah,
He's
yeah.
in the
So you
scene,
see
he
them.
scrimmed, so he knew who Logic was.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I remembered that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep my eye out for Logix. And at the World, if you go, I mean, yes, on Movistar Riders, Logix was very good, right? At the World Cup, for Team Belgium, Logix and Spree, they tried, they just couldn't carry. And here, Leplos, what is it that we were saying about Misfits? The DPS after they made, the blockbuster trade where they had the all Swedish team,
Yeah, never
Nevix
looked
and
comfortable.
Tavik never really gelled together. Tavik was playing the Tracer, Nevix was on the Genji. They kept rotating, right? And here, you know us on the rundown. We're huge fans of Tavik's Genji, right? He's not on Genji, he's on Doomfist. It does the same thing, just better. And for me, Leplos, the compliment that Logix gave him, like the synergy between them, you would have thought they'd been playing for 9 months instead of Tavik and Nevix playing for 9 months.
Yeah, and they look like the tighter team, and they deserve that 4-0 on the side of the new Cloud9 roster. Though they have some things that they have to work
Lepelos,
out.
I mean, let's talk tracers. I mean, if you take a look at Nevix, right? You say he's on Genji for Cloud9, but then you say, well, who's their other DPS? That'd be Kib. And you say, well, wait a minute, Kib,
Yes,
Kib,
and
who
you
was the
Genji.
Genji
Yeah.
player for Reunited,
Yep.
the Genji Reaper player, and he's their tracer. I mean, again, no,
Maybe it's
I'm
going
not,
to
I'm
take a
not
little
trying to
time
beat
to
up on
settle
anybody,
in,
Lepelos.
Jax, but
His tracer is not good enough.
it's not good enough right now. They need to shore up.
Lepelos, right now, I don't.
Okay,
He's not
Jax.
a tracer player, Lepelos. You
Let's
don't.
put. I'm going to say this. The new Cloud9 roster looks like the old Misfits roster. Problems with the DPS specifically, and I'm not putting on Nevix. I'm talking
I don't
about.
think it's Nevin. Like,
I'm,
okay,
I'm
listen, because
talking. I'm talking about like the overlap of similar players and
yeah,
similar playstyles, and someone like never fitting into the right role. Like I'm
the
not saying that
so
they can't adjust. They have to. They have to purposely adjust to
the
this
the
if
the
they're going to
the,
improve as a
the
team.
casters talked about it, but um, Munchkin is no longer with the team. He was, one of their Korean imports, and Munchkin was their tracer player, and
Yeah,
he did a lot of carrying for them. And
you've
for
got a
me,
hole until you get a new
and
one. Then
Lepelos, Lucius, he's a running meme now, with how he manages, and how he's got his finger in so many different pies. They've had almost enough players come through Laser Kittens for two different full rosters,
so you can call them
and
the
for me,
NRG of EU.
I mean, Lepelos, I mean,
Took a second there. Is
man,
there
but
some lag between us? I'm not sure, but
the biggest sorry, I was just the biggest thing that I could take away from is that I actually have a note here for Eichenwald, and this is versus Cloud9. When Nevix delivers on the Genji, they get going.
yeah,
Now they didn't finish it out, but when they as far as they got, multiple times was off the Nevix's Dragon Blade, and I felt his Genji did more here than he ever really did for Misfits. They've got to figure out. I mean, I don't want to just say you got to fire Kib, but
they
I
have
don't
to figure
actually
out what
don't
they're
think you
gonna.
fire him, because I think you do want a deep roster
Yeah,
for Overwatch League, but they need a if this is what they're gonna play, they need a tracer hit scan. They don't have a tracer hit scan player.
yeah.
As good as Nevix is, Lepelos, I've always loved Nevix because of how versatile he was. Nevix is your jack of all trades player, but his hit scan was always his weakest point for me,
Yeah.
and
So
they don't have a hit scan player,
yeah, I mean that's going to be an issue for them. That's something that they're going to need to work
and
on
they
for
got to
future
figure out
weeks.
Doomfist defense. Man, they got crushed. They got crushed.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it was sort of not great out of Nevix Doomfist coming out like just sort of on attack and defensive. Volska not
Yeah,
really that big of an issue out of Nevix on that Doomfist sort of an issue. But anyways, Jax, let's move into another game. Let's talk next about Gigante
Lepelos.
versus E United.
What again? I'm broke. What a game, dude! Like,
Well, let's
You
get right into it then.
Lepelos.
We start on
Coming into
Nepal.
this, you and I both said E United, they got this, right?
I mean, come on, E United looking so good. E United, having recent results going their sides. Former Gigante, former RIP and NIP team, as you might known them to be called in the past. They had been on a slide for so long, Jax.
Lepelos.
They
Days
managed to
before, like
the
days before this tournament,
yeah.
Zuppy left, right?
Yeah, so they lost Zappe. They also brought in some new talent. This
They
is
brought Davin.
a good
Oh, sorry,
pickup.
I'm a little sick. Shaz was the support player that they brought in place of Zuppy. But this, okay, let's go back. What 2 weeks? Asus ROG tournament. They did pretty good. It was an all finish tournament, right? So no surprise that they dominated. We kind of expected that. Then you come into contenders here, Lepos. E United won season 0 handily. The only team that I felt E United struggled against, and not struggled, and they actually did lose to them, was at Takeover 2 when Rogue beat them handily, right? So I'm thinking Rogue, Envy, maybe Immortals, the only teams that can hang with E United. We come in to contender season 1, Lepelos, 2-0 for Gigante over E United on Nepal. 3-2 Numbani for Gigante Lepelos. Volskaya 3-2 for Gigante. Watchpoint 3-2 for E United. A 3-1 win for Team Gigante. You cannot tell me you predicted this.
No, obviously not. I mean, Gigante outperforming E United with a dive comp largely too. Something that we've seen them not do very well at the past. Here is doing work. I mean, Davin doing great work.
Lepelos, I cannot believe you just said Gigante won by playing dive and playing it better than the enemy team. Because Gigante, NIP, RIP, if you look at their history, Lepelos, they're a very tank-heavy team, with Fraggy being the focal point. And back in the day when you had Himzy and you had Mafu and their tanks and what they did, and I almost didn't know that this was the same team. I mean, it's not the same team because 3 of their people are gone, but the ideology is still there, right? Like, when you think about Gigante or NIP Leplos, not always, because now it's changing. You would think, okay, they've got really good tanks. For the first time, I can say they have really good DPS.
Linkser. I mentioned Davin. Linkser bringing out some breadth. I mean, his Genji coming through on Bonnie particularly was great. That was, I think, the moment for me that I was like, Linkser is actually playing really well right now. It's close though, right? It was a close match on all three wins. It was pretty close. Okay, so Volskaya maybe not the close, but Nabani, Nepal, both close wins.
For me, Lepelos, Linkser is going into the catalyst category like Mangachu. He popped off and Gigante did very well. Davin, by the way, I don't know where he came from. He came from. Let me just click this link and find out where he came from. But Davin really impressed. Like,
absolutely
coming
a great
into
pickup.
this Lepelos,
we talk about tracers, man.
When you look at the DPS for E United and actually, where did Davin come from? He was
a familiar name.
Ex-Cyclone. That's right.
Okay.
But coming into this, you would have said that United's going to win because this is a current DPS heavy meta, and their DPS, Valutaya, Cruz, right? Unfixed.
Yeah.
We know these guys, right? We
like
know they can do it. And Lepelos, they were outplayed. Not just that. Boombox, who I feel like we gave him, the caster's curse because we were raving about Boombox last week, and then
here he is, sort of quiet.
It was rough for him, man.
Yeah, no, I think maybe he got focused a little bit more and couldn't close out some of the kills that he would need to.
Yeah, see, that's just it. Where, in the past we would have said Boombox and his ability, like we said last week, right? His ability to win that 1v1 against the dive and survive is what helped carry, E United in the past.
Yeah.
And what helped carry Team UK. It's not so much here, Levels. He
just couldn't get as many pickoffs. Let's be honest with what that was. Like, I don't think he played horrible. I think he played middle of the road as in terms of Zens, right? Like, he wasn't like outstanding, getting the important first pickoffs as we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's some of the enemy team trying to avoid those too. Recognizing his play and shutting it down.
What a game by
That's
Gigante
important. Yeah,
Lepelos.
a huge one for them. E United. I listen. I think they got read well, and they just have to tighten up their play. I think they still have it. I just think this is an off game for them. I think we're
I
going to
hope
see
it's
them
a
come
wake up
back.
call.
Yeah, listen. As much as the rogue loss was, I think it's the same here for E United. I expect them to come back even stronger
Okay.
next week. So I'd be disappointed not to see them perform well. So Jax, let's move on. Do you want to do this in order? Or do you want to talk about the?
No, this should go 1-2-3 versus Singularity.
Oh, you want to do that way? Okay, yeah, we can do 1-2-3 versus Singularity. Jax, this one, well, it's not that close. I mean, 1-2-3 trying their, 1-2-3 coming out strong here. Singularity doing their best trying to keep up. Let's put it that way.
I'm a Craggy fan, and I was sad to see Singularity get beat like they did Lepelos 1-2-3. Pretty solid performance. I mean, they brought in your favorite Happy Cool. He's now with the team. Finzi. The DPS. The DPS was on point. I mean,
Yeah,
as critical as I am of Happy Cool and some of the others, but they were. I really didn't expect the synergy out of them that they had.
Yeah, definitely some interesting things coming out of Craggy too. Though I have to say on Nepal, that Bastion coming out on Village, I think it was there at the end, and not really getting getting much. Still finding him for that pick, so he's immediately off that one. I just thought I'd mention that for fun. We're seeing Zarya come out a little bit more. They're doing work. I have to say, Nerfed showing up a few times as well, doing good, getting good value. Sometimes on Reinhardt too. We're starting to see Reinhardt Zarya come out back, Jax.
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's. I'll talk about it later. I think in the OGN series, but we'll see, man. We'll see. We're seeing a lot more Reinhardt now.
Singularity though, unable to.
I like the synergy that I saw between Factor Fiction and Shadowburn with the Earth Shatter into Meteor Strike, but
Yeah,
congrats
previously linked.
to 1-2-3 for taking this.
Singularity, I think, had a lot of trouble closing off their attack rounds. Like you look at Eichenwald, they okay, so Eichenwald 1-2-3 just dominated them.
Yo,
Like 242 on their attack round, not even a close one. Singularity get into the third phase, but can't really close it off there. That's one example. Their Hanamura, similar story, 246 on attack for 1-2-3, but Singularity can't close out the B point attack, right? If they can't even close out the map when the other team has such a strong time advantage, then you're in an issue. Dorado, another example, right, where they let 1-2-3 push out to the final phase, or sorry, to the final point in OT, and then get held as well. Again, it's like similar story. You can't see these, not see a trend of not being able to close out. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So we move on to the last game of EU Leps. We have Bazooka Puppies versus Gamers Origin. I think we have Bazooka? I think picked Bazooka Puppies.
I think we did. Because
looking at Bazooka Puppies roster, Ube, Mete, Meza, Rubicon, and Cycle Waffle, I could see why we would pick Bazooka Puppies. I guess I'm kind of spoiling it, Lepelos, but
they start well though. Bazooka Puppies, Ube on that Farah, Cycle Waffle on the Mercy. City Center on Oasis. Yeah, you're gonna do work there. But Jax, the story of this match, Leaf coming out next round, Doomfist, and Doomfist check not met on the side of Bazooka Puppies.
I'm willing to say that I'm not sure how to meet the Doomfist check. I've watched a lot of it. I'm not sure how to meet that check just yet.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
He is overtuned, but
Jax, another thing I wanted to talk to you about here, because it's one of your favorite Nimbani here.
Don't do it.
We're talking, of course, about that Torbjorn coming out of Pippo for a 2-3-1 defense there on the side of Gamers Origin. Jax, how do you feel about it? Does it twice?
I feel people don't like. This is how I know we have a small audience, because teams keep playing it. If we had a large audience, these teams would know They
I
would know. Jax has told people not to run this, and here we are.
I mean, we see it work out decently here, though, Jax. Like maybe they're finally getting down
All
with
right,
enough
Lepelos.
practice. Yeah, I mean it
All right.
does. They hold on for a bit on first point, which is more than some teams that run regular compositions do, and they get the hold in the second attack to set themselves up for Leaf coming back on Doomfist to win the point again, right? So
I
I don't
mean,
know. I don't know.
I'm not surprised. Well, I'm surprised in the scoreline here, but it's just I'm let down by Bazooka Puppies. Like I look at this and I'm just, where's the teamwork? Like where Levels, they have a lot of talent here.
Yeah.
Kenzie, Ube, Mete, Meza, Rubicon, Psycho Waffle. I mean, if we just go through the score, like Oasis 2-1, Gamers Origin. Nabani 4-3, Gamers Origin. Hanamura 3-2, Bazooka Puppies. Okay, that's
Yeah,
nice. And then you go to
Jax.
Dorado, Lepelos 3-1.
Yeah, let's even just talk about the map they won, Hanamura. They should have
Yeah.
closed this out without letting Gamers Origin capture on their attack, right? Uh, they had the fight going their way. I honestly would have to go back and look through this to see exactly what went wrong because they had the advantage in defense going into OT, but somehow Gamers Origin turned that fight around and capture out, forcing, okay, you know what it is? It's Leaf on Doomfist. I'm not even joking. I'm pretty sure that's
Here we go. Leaf. Look, you
don't
keep talking about Leaf and Doomfist. There we
we
go.
a lot of teams don't have the practice yet. I think of the like getting it ingrained into them about what to do, and we'll talk about this again and again as it
In the
happens.
very next series we talk about left, we're gonna be talking about Doomfist. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, listen, congrats to Gamers Origin taking. I feel it should have been a loss, but it's a win. All win. It's a 3-1 win here. So
Okay,
Bazooka Puppies, you got a rebound.
but before you say that though, like Bazooka Puppies, are you not going to comment on the Junkrat defense on Dorado?
I mean, Lepelos, we had. Okay, we went over our time budget, so I was trying to skip by something that would take
Okay, so
a
we're gonna keep this under a minute, Jax. I'm gonna tell you what else was under a minute. That was the capture
talk to
time
me.
left for um, Gamers Origin going through all 3 points. 40 seconds, Jax. That's 1 to 2 fights. That's your wasted fight on Junkrat when you don't have the execution of it down.
Lepelos, we've seen attacking Junkrat on Dorado, so if attacking Junkrat could work, it's even better for defensive Junkrat. I just
Jax,
think,
I
wait,
agree with you. I agree with you. Execution needs to be there. Execution was not there. Okay, that's our 1 minute.
wait, has the Junkrat changes gone live yet? I
No,
don't
no,
think.
it has
Well,
not gone
see,
live yet.
again, I talk about the Widow's Trap. This is Junkrat's trap here, right? They saw Flower. They're like, listen, did you see what Flower did at the World Cup with Junkrat? It's like the same with Taimu. You saw what Taimu did with the Widowmaker? If Taimu can do it, if Flower can do it, we can do it.
There's
We're
also
good
one other
enough for
moment
it.
on the attack for Gamers Origin I wanted to highlight, which is a Graviton Surge onto the upper level of the courthouse, setting up a 3-kill Meteor Strike from the lower ground onto the upper ground. Beautiful moment.
Levels, are we going to
Showing
start
the power.
calling it Jam?
I don't know, man. Do you want to
It-
call it Space Jam? I'll call it Space
I mean,
Jam if it becomes a thing.
this is what Reddit is trying to push through. I saw some Twitter people talk about it. Right now, we're going with Space Jam. It was a rather nice space. I mean, it was because the Graviton Surge went up there. I'm like, wait, I said to him without thinking. At first, I said, where is the follow up? And then Meteor Strike.
Yeah,
So
it was a good one.
you
It
know,
was a good one.
it's I like the change it brings Lepelos because you're so used to Zarya's grab. If they grab off point or at an angle, it's to keep them. Oh, like if you want to push through and you want to grab them off the point, or like we've seen gravitons on the high ground before. You're saying, why are you grabbing up there when you've got no DPS, no tanks that can reach it, and now you do. I think it kind of leads to the OP nature of Doomfist.
I was
but,
gonna say, like, you can't stop Doomfist from coming and slamming you down in it, right? At least
like
that was like,
positioning doesn't matter. Levels.
yeah,
Graviton Surge and the changes to where you can't leave, you can't escape.
yeah.
Positioning doesn't matter, man. If
It's
you're
gonna be
hit,
bigger for the Big Bang, bigger for the Bigger Bang, and bigger for the Space Jam. All these things helping out with those changes. I think we're gonna see more and more Zarya, and less Diva as well.
I mean, Lepelos. I mean, honestly, this is a perfect segue into OGN. I mean, I really just want to jump into this where we start with reigning champions, Lepelos,
Yeah, we'll cover this
Lunatic
one first.
High.
Taking on MVP Space. Jax, I mean, this is the group that we talked about. The only games. Okay, Jax, I did watch every OGN game this week.
You watch more than I couldn't do it, man. I fell
Um,
asleep. I legit fell asleep.
I quickly went through a lot of them, to be honest. But here's the deal: this Group A is a group to watch. I've said it to you. It's basically the only reason to watch OGN right now for good reason. There's rarely another game on that's of any interest right now in the initial
Lepelos, Group D
season.
was just gutted last night with LW Blue backing out of OGN to focus on the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
We haven't even heard of them being signed yet.
Yeah, I mean that's I think a huge issue for them. So we'll see what comes of that. I think it's pretty ridiculous. But let's get into Lunatic High versus MVP Space. Starting on Nepal, Jax. It's a 2-1 round score. Doesn't really tell the story. Lunatic High, when they perform well, do really good work. 200
Should
rounds
point
for
out
them.
though, Lepelos, no Guido, no who are you? Running Lite Jun back off of out of retirement. You know he had some women troubles, but he got over them. We're not gonna go into the drama here, but he's back, original member here. You know, both of us had questions about Lite Jun coming into this, right? Where we always felt he was just okay. He was an average player, but here he is on the best team in Korea.
Yeah, here he's back, and well, you know, if we talk a little bit about the rounds, I'll circle back around to him. So let's just say not making an impression here on Nepal.
Okay.
Eichenwald, this is a MVP Space, managing to do really good work actually on particularly their A-point defense.
And Lepelos first, let's point out the MVP Space went on the attack first, and they capped it out.
So
Lunatic High, no, for me, Lunatic High's Eichenwald defense, multiple last second saves before second point last season, where they were able to just string defenses together out of nowhere. But here, MVP Space fought through each checkpoint, Lepelos, and capped it out.
It's sort of funny you mentioned that they're good at stringing things together into a because if you look at largely a lot of the battles, like first phase, there's basically one really long battle that MVP Space lasted out. They're running again a Mercy. Second phase, really long battle, basically the whole time, ends up going to their side, right? Like Eska not finding good timing for the EMPs. He was holding on to it. First off, Eska running EMP or Sombra, defense in second phase, sort of weird. But then holding on to his EMPs and not getting good value off it. Bit of an issue about why they can hold out there. And
I mean, you did it, but if you go back to finals between Condu Pantera and I believe it was on Eichenwald, where it was his like they were winning fights and not having to use EMP, where he held on to EMP for minutes, because it just wasn't needed. And here
he's holding on to it because
needed, and it's not working. But then Lepelos, let's go on for their attack then, right?
Yeah.
You talk about his Sombra on defense, his Sombra on attack. There's no enemy Sombra, Lepelos. They're running Doomfist Pharah defense.
And Lunatic High didn't know what to do with them. It was
Lepelos, I don't know what to do with Doomfist Pharah defense.
You can watch this if you watch the play, it looks like we're back in about a year ago. It's like they're like, hey, anniversary edition, let's follow the meta of nobody knows what's going on with focus fire because everyone's getting out of position. You know, Doomfist is just running amok, and this is exactly what you want when you're a Doomfist. Like everybody's everyone. You find one target, kill them.
Lunatic High looks so out of sorts where the only they ran, what did they run? They ran Sombra. What was the other DPS? Was it Sombra Tracer?
Sombra Tracer, I believe. I think Lee Tajan came out on Tracer.
Ryu Jae-hung was on Zen. He was the only one that could ever really hit Pharah
until he switched
then he switched to Soldier Levels, and they ran
probably to get back
single healer
because they're trying to extend the fight. But you're facing somebody with bringing out a two-person res on the other side, like.
And he even solo res the Winston at one, but
it reminds me of I think it was the old Immortals used to do this back in December of last year, where they would just extend fights and eventually would win out. It looked like Lunatic High is used to that kind of a feeling where you could get away with this, and that's what Immortals used to do. And then somebody just beat them down and was like, you gotta refine your gameplay. Lunatic High coming off this feeling we can win any fight as long as we keep on going. and then MVP space being like, we've got Doomfist. No, you can't.
I mean,
You know,
levels. We praised them for especially Ryu Jae-hong doing what you said, right?
I
He would die on Ana or Zen. He would come back on a soldier. He would be hitting shots, hitting helix rockets, and they would sustain in order to cap out
so
and
the
win the
game
point.
sense here has to be there's a Mercy out coming back. Coming back is not the same value on a soldier because we need the sustained. We don't need the initial DPS. You know, like, and that's a difference in game sense about reading a different composition. I don't think they're used to reading these compositions, and I don't think. I think part of it is I don't think they had a good soldier immediately to bring out. They didn't want to give up the Sombra, so they were like, Ryu Jae-hung needs to be the anti-air.
I mean,
So it's a mess. Let's talk about.
if you think about it, I mean, I think Eska is probably their best soldier player.
But he was running their
And at
Sombra, which was
times
their utility player.
I mean, Leplos. I mean, you talk about the Sombra. What is Sombra supposed to do
I
here?
agree with you, and this is why I'm saying their whole game plan had no sense to it, right? And they didn't think well on their feet, which is what you need to be looking at. Lunatic High's weaknesses. They've had incredibly good planning. When they get a read on a team,
Yes.
they know what to do. Here, this is exactly their weakness. They don't know what the team is going to do.
I think
They're
not really good at
don't know what
to work, as you're saying. Yeah.
listen. I know they didn't have time to practice. You know, like they can mention that they know the Doomfist Farah combo is a good one. They didn't really have a plan for it right now. But you know, I think this shows that they have a serious weakness, which is they are bad at adapting.
I mean, Leplos, we go into Temple of Anubis, and it was almost as if we gone back in time.
Map.
I'm just gonna go double left. Just talk to 4-4 draw here. For me, the problem that I have, and it's the same problem I had back in the grand finals when they played Condu Pantera here, is Ryu Jae-hong. I mean, everybody loves the guy, right? His Ana, his Zen is so great. I think people gloss over a problem that I've noticed here. Now, his Mei. It's his second time now. He's brought out Mei
on attack.
And
I mean, he did it twice in this match.
Hey, Leplos, what's he doing here, man? If you go back to the grand finals, his Mei, the blizzards weren't there. Here, his first blizzard, Leplos, I'm still wondering where it went. He used it. They didn't get anything from it.
I'm pretty sure, you know, the side of MVP space found the local pub and just waited until it all blew over. But, you know, on the side of Lunatic High, you're not getting any value out of those blizzards. I think, okay, there was one kill on the kill board with a blizzard in this match, but that's hardly worth it, I think, in my opinion. And I don't think the space that, quote unquote, the space that it bought was really worth it, too. I don't think they did much during that time.
And Lepolos. I want people to go back and watch the defenses for Lunatic High. This was sickening. And 2CP, I'm just not going to go into long.
Specifically, second defense.
Horrible.
Second defense B
this
point.
Was horrible.
This
was horrible.
I basically say it's a 3-minute 45 fight on.
It was almost 4 minutes, man.
Yeah, it was almost a full 4 minutes because you know, there was only a slight disengage, and then it was mostly OT.
One fact
coming through though, huge. The staggers were real.
I wish I had time to go back. Like, you know me, I like to go back and count all the kills for one side, and you would see MVP Space getting so many kills. But every time they lost someone, right? You on attack there, when you lose someone, it's like a huge blow. But thankfully, they were able to cap it out. But,
so close, man. I'm not sure if you watched. There was one moment near the end where someone gets killed on point, I think, and the timer's almost down just when their tank player, which I forget off the top of my head right now, manages just barely to get back in time. And that was the difference. Like, they almost lost it there, but instead it goes to a tiebreaker. Jax 100-0 on the tiebreaker of Elios Lighthouse. Do I need to say this Farah Mercy combo coming out again, destroying the side of Lunatic High?
Listen, when I see Lunatic High fail against a Farah like this, you know what it brings me back to? APAC, not Apex, APAC Season 1 Finals,
last year,
where they faced the original Rogue. And you go back and you look at that. If you find the VOD, it was put on by Banana Culture. Tavik brought out the Farah on King's Row, attack and defense, and he absolutely crushed them. They had Lee Tae-jun, they had Eska, the same two they have here. They both tried to run McCree at different points, Lepelos. They could not deal with Tavix Farah, and
Farrah here,
here
same
the Farah
story.
check is not met.
And not just that, the Mercy too. Like last fight, for example, on this one, Yaki getting the boost on Miro to start. Huge start to get Miro to that fight to start. Unding getting a 2-person res in that fight too. Keep them in it and allow them to turn it around. Like, you can't ask for better play out of your pharmacy combo than that.
Lunatic High do rebound Lepelos on the next match, Watch Point Gibraltar, to tie us up at 2-2. And we're left looking at another Lunatic High series that is going the distance. This team, like, and you from the outside looking, you're saying, well, here we are again, Lunatic High being pushed to go through all 5 or through all 7. And, of course, they're going to turn it around and pull it out like they always have. And then you go to Hollywood levels, and Lunatic High has that amazing tech.
Yeah, just like
MVP Space struggled mightily to get anything done, and then they go on their attack. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, just to talk about that first attack. I mean, it sounds great. It's not the super quickest time. They got through with a minute 15. Huge time, right, to get through.
They got over a little bit in the final third, but
yeah, they got slowed down in the third. QOQ, I want to say, he woke up the more the game went on. He came out in Gibraltar, but couldn't come out. Starts coming out here, and it's important though, right? Because they bought a lot of time in that final phase. Like, they just bled enough time to get it down to 1:15. Unfortunately, not under that 1 minute, so they have to finish with the clock, Jax, and that's important. Here, Lunatic High, having trouble with the Doomfist again. One fact. This going off.
This map right here, Eska is still on from how many times he got randomly one shot. Doomfist is broken. I'm putting emphasis on that. Lepelos.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the post game report that Zumba gave, and I guess I'll save that. But the random one shots that one was coming out with Lepelos, it was gross. It should not be allowed, man.
I mean, here's the deal too. It wasn't just one factor. I mean, one fact being the huge reason, but yeah, you can say that's the case. But Lee Tae-jun, bad position, getting caught by Doomfist. It's hard. Listen, I'm saying this with like a bit of cynicism, because Doomfist catching somebody, a tracer, by surprise. It's sort of like, are you kidding me? Like, it's not that difficult because they hit registration. Yeah, that's the case, but you're doing it continually, and that's what's important, right? The consistency. I've talked about other Doomfists being like, they're all right, but here we're seeing one fact just really go through.
This guy, he's got timing down, Lepelos. I mean, so here's the deal. They're talking about fixing the hitbox on the punch, right? But this is OGN, and OGN plays on its own tournament client levels, and OGN is rather slow to adapt to the changes. Yeah. They like once a particular portion of the season has began, they don't really switch.
Yeah, until after the fact.
So right now we're in the group stages, right? OGN does not like for one set of games to be played on a completely different patch from another if they're still in the same phase. There's a pretty good chance we're going to have this Doomfist like it is throughout the entire group stage here, Lepelos. And honestly, I just want to jump. I mean, I kind of just want to jump into the ending here so we can get to that to what Zumba had to say, right?
Let's
Hollywood Lepelos.
Let's talk about Hollywood, like the end of Hollywood here. So
yeah.
Shorten this up. MVP Space managed to make it through 9 seconds of clock. Great work through one fact, as I said. Yaki also coming through at times, and QOQ as well. I think the second phase he did pretty well. They're able to actually in OT capture that A point out again. Yaki, huge 2-kill pulse bomb opening the way for them. Lunatic High go for that early hold, but one fact, Doomfist coming through, do make it to Saloon, no further. That means Lunatic High has a distance to go to make. Go ahead.
On the attack here, Ryu Jae-hong doing it yet again. What a sleep
dart
onto one fact Doomfist. Listen, how do you hit that, man?
I don't know, man.
I've seen Taimu try to flashbang a Doomfist, and it favored the shooter, and he still died. What a sleep by Ryu Jaehong onto one fact, and I think he did it twice on throughout the series.
Not enough. I mean,
But see, Lepelos, I
this
mean
is important enough having a second DPS that does work. Yaki doing work when one
I
fact
mean
couldn't here.
that first fight, but they had to reset, right? Because
They
he
did
died.
reset him.
And for me, it's like if that's the level that you have to play at, I mean, the only way, like, listen, people, the only I think it's basically what I'm saying is I think it's asking too much. When you have to hit that sleep every time or potentially lose a fight, I there's no other way to stop him, Lepelos.
I mean, here, I mean, Fortify
What's
on
the
Orisa. Like, are you
counter?
kidding me? Like, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's pretty ridiculous. It's like not only is it a one shot kill, it also stuns. You know what I mean? Like, what? Okay, it's almost as ridiculous as Tracer's Recall, which is like a movement, dodge, and a cleanse and a heal. Like, okay, what an
But then
ability.
Lepelos,
Okay,
Lunatic High,
anyways,
they go on the
Zintakai,
attack. They've got more time. They've
they
got
have
what,
more time.
over
Yep.
twice as much time, I think.
Uh,
Because
here's
Lunatic High, I mean, yeah, I mean, MVP
Sombra
Space had
attacked.
1 minute, and Lunatic High had what 2 minutes and 15 seconds or something like that.
Something like that. I didn't like their attack here. I mean, they're bringing out the Sombra on attack again,
There you go.
not getting value off of it. Lee Taejun not impressing either. Again, dying without doing a lot of work. MVP
Eska,
in the trades do take the moment to regroup and recenter themselves. That was huge for me when I saw them do that, where they're like, listen, we're going to give up a lot of A point time to make sure we come back and hold as a team. And one fact just comes back, destroys Ryu Jaehong. Two res comes out, a two-person res for the tanks on the side of MVP. And Jack's Mercy play coming through again, a part of this
when
one
one fact
for
got
MVP
punched
space.
into Ryu Jaehong, I knew they were done, Lepelos.
Yeah.
I knew they were done, man. This basically people MVP Space has beaten Lunatic High.
3-2.
I cannot. When I fell asleep because this is about 4 o'clock in the morning for me, and I wake up, I look at the scores, I'm like, okay, let's see what Lunatic High did, and I have to refresh it on my phone when I'm laying there in bed, like, excuse me, they lost, and I'm saying to myself, how do you go from that fantastic series against Kongdu Panthera to what less than a month later losing to a promoted team, Lepelos, a team that has just been rebuilt, not just but a team that was rebuilt, and
You
then
don't.
I see the after action report that Zumba gave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean,
So
there's a lot he said in it. I think the simplest thing to say is it felt like Lunatic High did not have a plan for the Doomfist Pharah combo, particularly
it
on
goes
Eichenwald. But it
it
goes into
goes
more
into what
detail.
you say, that and what I think we've said before. Lunatic High's greatest asset is their coaching and their planning.
Which,
You talked about them not being able to adapt, as the game is going, right, and how they struggle with it. And this here, when I read this and I heard what you just, and I thought about it and what you just said about them being planners, right,
yeah.
and their pre-game plans being so much of how they win their games.
And why I
And
like them as a team too, right? Because that
right,
shows like critical thought about the game and coming together as a team, which I've always liked. You can go back to when we saw like Kungarna's Cry unique strategies and
right.
Renegades when they're coming out, when they're focusing themselves around those kinds of attitudes rather than playing to the meta and mechanically. Um, I love that. I love that about Lunatic High. And I'm sorry about the sirens, everyone. That's not
Lepos, I'm
planned,
literally
but
saying to myself, the ambulance going to pick up Eska, who is still laying there dead on Sombra somewhere on Hollywood. People,
oh
if you
man.
have not watched this, you need to watch Hollywood to see how many times, not just Eska, the one shots, Lepos, it was ridiculous. And then you go here, and Zumba, again, props to TIS Robin 311 on Reddit for translating this, and he admits that Lunatic High, they don't have the Doomfist meta down, right? And something that stood out to me, right, is he says if they had a month, right, they could figure it out. And I'm saying to myself, a month, that's a lot of time. Like, does it really take a month to absorb a meta? And then I go back to what you've been saying. Lunatic High is all about the planning. When you go into the in-depth planning that Lunatic High does, I can see why it would take a month, Lepelos, to completely dissect a meta change like this. And again, if you take a look at it, what's the only real? I mean, the biggest change, Genji out, Doomfist in. People still run Diva, they still run Tracer, they still run all of these, right? Except Diva Lepelos. And for me, what I want to talk about is what I said last week is Toby and Ryu Jaehong. I said they were the basis. If I were to make a team, I would want those two because their ability to stay alive and win their 1v1s and support each other is huge.
And then so they introduced a character now, which basically does away with that synergy between support to protect themselves by basically saying we can one-shot one of your two healers and now the other one is alone and wait 4 seconds and then he will be dead too.
As good as Toby is, and people, I need you to realize this. Ryu Jaehong is great. He's only as great as he is because Toby babysits him like you wouldn't believe. If you go back to when we first saw Lunatic High last year at APAC, the NRG guys who lost to them, they said they've never seen a Lucio babysit their Ana and Zen like Toby did.
Toby's really good. And it goes to show you the value of a good Lucio. I mean, obviously everyone loves an offensive Lucio and aggressive boobs, but the true value being shown on Lunatic High and Toby. Like he gets great damage.
There's nothing to babysit when a random rising uppercut comes out of from out of nowhere into a fist and you're dead. Like
I'm surprised they just haven't.
I was playing the first day Doomfist came out. I was on Ana. I like to play a lot of Ana. I was on a test server with my buddy Will Jenkins, and I'm telling you, we were on Ilios on the lighthouse, and I walk out, and I'm like, Jenkins, I just died. And he's like, well, yeah, okay. And I didn't know what happened, Lepelos. And then I saw the replay, and I literally walk out. He wasn't even aiming at me, Lepelos. It was just some random punch. He hit me into a wall and I died.
Well, Jack,
there's nothing I could have done. Nothing.
I agree with you. It is pretty ridiculous. They're talking about toning it down on the test server. While we're talking about ridiculous things, thank goodness they got rid of the Roadhog one-shot hook to replace it with this character.
Lepelos.
Can't wait for his buff to his breather so he can move around and reduce the damage he's taking.
This is a 4-second cooldown. Are you kidding me, man?
Don't worry. We're also going to change Diva to reduce her defensive matrix and add missiles.
The Diva changes I'm rather intrigued by, but Lepelos, you're trying to distract me from my rant right now.
I am.
Doomfist, people, please watch Lunatic High versus MVP Space.
Great game.
If you don't watch all five,
week,
watch Hollywood, watch Eichenwald. Listen. MVP Space, Zumba says, and okay, this is what I wanted to get into here.
Okay.
We didn't cover how the groups were chosen. I guess we should have, but apparently there were,
I think we
like
mentioned
they do in the playoffs here, the teams were able to put themselves and put teams to in the
which
groups.
is
and Miro,
stupid.
Very dumb. Miro was the representative for Lunatic High. Now his coach Lepelos, and again, this by the way goes back to the planning because it's something I never would Lepelos. This coach is fantastic. He says, look, don't take MVP Space. Out of everybody else there, Lepelos, he was afraid of MVP Space the most because they've had the most time to work on the Doomfist.
Smart guy, man.
They've been on,
coaches may not be the best players, but like, some of them know their stuff. I mean, this is another case where you don't listen to your coach. And
for this, and we don't know why Miro in this group. We don't know why, but Lepelos.
I get enjoyment out of times like this a little bit. Like a little Schadenfreude or whatever it's called.
I guess it's his job to know, but to make that call to say, listen, we don't want to play them because they've digested the Doomfist meta,
and we're not ready for it.
Yeah, but who really knows Doomfist? Base knows Doomfist, Lepelos.
Yeah, like most other teams that we've seen run it haven't run it as a team. Particularly in Western scenes, we've seen like individual players come out on it. I've seen Doomfist being run on other teams, but again, looking individual rather than team.
We saw no Doomfist Pharah except for MVP Space.
Such a beautiful combination right now.
I
think it's going to be a thing for a little bit.
If you know how to counter Doomfist Pharah, tweet at us at OW Rundown, at Lepelos, at Jax_Blake, because I was sat there thinking to myself, I mean, your hit scan would have to be the best, Lepelos, but again, Soldier, he gets randomly one shot.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're paying attention to the sky, you get snuck up on and destroyed, right? Like
Like
it's not going to be fun. It's probably double hit
divas.
scan, or honestly, Jax, we might see this. No, I'm just kidding about this, but the Bastion where you can't get punched to death come out, right? You do double
Um,
shield Orisa,
Wait a
Bastion.
minute. When he's in Sentry mode, does he get
I don't think he gets knocked out. I could be
does he
wrong.
get
I haven't
knocked
checked.
out?
I haven't checked because when am I running Bastion? Honestly, I would. I
That's
this is
interesting,
this
Leplos.
is
I'm
still
intrigued.
ridiculous.
I'm intrigued now, Leplos.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I mean the simple thought off my top of the head would just be like you got double shield. Farah doesn't have that much DPS through shield, but he doesn't get knocked back. He would take damage, initial damage from it, but he's a freaking Bastion, right? Like you dive into a Bastion with a Doomfist, you're sort of messed. And then if you have an Orisa with Fortify for when you know the Doomfist is coming, like what are you going to do? Anyways, still has a lot of
Interesting.
issues because of the nature of those characters, but there's think there's changes that we're going to see. I think we're going to see a team try that at one point. Whether it works or not, I'm going to guess not because they're not going to have that down and executing it well. But I'm just saying it's a possibility. Jax, let's move on into other OGN games. I'm going to try and run down a number
Was
of
there
them.
more games?
There was a total of 6 games this past week, Jax.
6 games?
6 games, I'm pretty sure.
I apologize for not covering these other 5 games.
I'm going to go through them quickly. I'll try and highlight things. I'm going to just go through them in the order I sort of want, not in the order that they happened. The other big story, so Lunatic High versus MVP Space, game of the week in OGN series, probably overall for me. Like, Contenders had some great games. That game most interesting and interesting result. OGN next most interesting game was Flashlights versus NC Foxes of all teams. Actually, some interesting things here. Flashlights, being in the OGN Prime for ages, NC Foxes finally making it out of Contenders. And some surprises, Jax. It's a 3-0 for NC Foxes here, taking it over Flashlights.
I think we saw NC Foxes in Big File, and
And
it,
and Nexus Cup, I think they were there too.
that's right.
And they didn't do very well. Flashlux, unfortunately, not able to match up. I mean, Lijiang Towers goes 3 decently close rounds, like 199 for Flashlux on Garden, 174 for Foxes on Control Center, and then 165 to take the map on Night Market. And Jax, something that happened in this game, and then I want to mention it now because it happens in their other game this week. NC Foxes basically have a specialist for King of the Hill, the Assassin, who's basically their Pharah player, goes out after both games.
Hey,
After
Leplos,
the King of the Hill.
that just reminds me then, right? Let me just take a quick detour back to Lunatic High versus MVP Space, Leplos. You won. First season, you lost. Season 2, you won. Who are you on DPS? Season 3, you won Guido on DPS. How do you go through an entire 5-game series and not sub out Lee Taejun?
I honestly don't know. I don't know what their thought process was. Maybe they've been practicing with him a bit, so they wanted to.
I mean, Zumba says that
I don't
who
think
are
they.
you? Zumba says who are you is their best Doomfist, right? So you're thinking, well, Jack, if he says that their scrim
I'm not
results
surprised
with
by that.
with them running Doomfist is not great. But I'm sorry, I'm looking what Lee Taejun was doing, and
Yeah. So you want to talk
What-
Doomfist though,
bring
Jax?
this up. Yeah.
Let's bring this back to the match. Kings Row Sia Minso
Okay.
for the side of NC Foxes brings out the Doomfist, gets work immediately done. They do well on their attack for NC Foxes, 211 on their attack, and end up holding Flashflux in the third phase. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right.
So they did pretty well on their opponent hold. So they're up 2-0, brings it to Hanamura in Jax. Wow. Okay. I think I might have linked you a play. I don't have it on me right now. But Flashlux here looking really not good. Fleta whiffed the graviton of a lifetime. I'm not sure if it was a fat finger or if it was a bad reaction. Gets absolutely nobody on it. He looks so out of sorts here. Fleta, who looked like he's trying to be a flower type player.
Yeah.
They're running a 3-1-2. He's running the Zarya. you can't miss the only graviton built that you built for that B point attack, Jax. You just can't do that. And it was such a
It
bad one. If you watch it, like you can watch the commentators of Papa Smithy and was it Wolf on? I can't remember. And they're just agape with what he did there because it was so bad, and it is like they were basically like this is on live television or whatever, and like it is that bad, and that basically sums it up for what happened to Flashlocks here. 6:20 on the clock when NC Foxes cap it out, right?
Okay.
So this is why I needed to talk about that match second. Like they get this upset 3-0 in a dominating fashion like that. Like
You say upset. In
oof.
Flash Lux Lepelos, they finish bottom of the group every season.
It's not off to a good start. I mean, come on, they're not in Group A, so there's a chance, but you can't be losing a team against a contender team 3-0. But yeah,
I mean,
that's
Lepelos, you say that, right?
not
But
great.
I'm just going to stick with Group B. If we look at the other game in Group B, which was, I believe, was it last night? Kangdu Pantera versus NC Foxes, right?
Yeah,
You had 2-0.
yeah,
No,
I do have some notes for this one too. I mean, Kongdu Panthera just really strong one for them. Like, there's
Lepelos.
no
They
doubt
were
about
pushed 4-3 Kings Row, 4-3 Hanamura. NC Foxes is. I mean, I didn't watch this, but since you've got a few notes, would you just say they maybe not as bad as we thought? If they, yes, they lost 3-0, but 4-3, 4-3 for two of these maps.
Yeah, I mean, I think NC Foxes definitely has some good plays. Siu Minsu running the Doomfist coming out again. Um, let me see if I have any other specific notes to say. Rascal's Doomfist not looking that great in general, but
I think his Doomfist against Kongdu Uncia, it showed promise, but still needed to be refined. But Kongdu, they see the way OGN works, right? And I actually, it's kind of hurts them, where the finals happened a month ago, but the Doomfist patch had been on test server for quite a while. Uploads. This is why MVP Space had such an advantage, because they were able to just get started on it right away, because
yeah,
they already knew whether they knew, okay, we're going into OGN, let's get to work. Kongdu, Pantera, Lunatic High Levels, they were forced to play on the old patch because OGN doesn't go live. They have their own tournament realm. So these teams, as good as they are, they're behind. And the more that we talk about it, Lepelos, the more it's resonating with me is these Korean teams, not just Lunatic High, their greatest asset is their ability to plan.
yeah. Well, I mean,
And
some
this is taking it away from them. So Rascal
plan and
being
practice,
an okay, being an okay Doomfist, and not top tier yet, I figure, if they survive, and they should survive because they won 2 games, come second group stage, they'll probably be pretty good.
I also have to say, I think they're Kongdu Panthera running Curious as their second DPS here, by the way. Too.
Okay.
He did do good work throughout. I want to mention Curious running Hanzo both on attack of King's Row, getting good time there with his help, and on their second attack of Hanamura, where he got some decent work there as well. But Waka Waka actually really good coming through for that 8.33% that they needed to make there. Unfortunately, I talk about execution. Hayok, Sombra, and their 2-3-1 defense from the inside of NC Foxes. You can't make mistakes like getting picked early in a fight, when particularly not a Sombra player. I mean, there's no good option, but your only hold, you can't get picked. They do. It's not a big surprise that they lost this one 3-0. Jax, let's go move on to another game.
I was just about to say, I have to take your job, Lepus, and move us through C and D groups very quickly because we are over budget on time.
Yeah.
What happened in Group C?
Sorry, I don't have the groups with me. Group C is the Rocks.
DC Busan versus Rocks Orcas, and then
I'll do that one first.
it was AF Blue versus Rocks, and then GC Busan.
Yeah, AF Blue versus Rocks was first. Interesting. You see Kalios coming in on the off tank role for AF Blue. Breck now on that main tank role. We're seeing some Reinhardt Zarya play coming out, including some 3-1-2 play. Huge play out of Kalios in this series on the Zarya. 59 seconds attack Graviton Surge Jax. That's how quickly he wipes Rocks, like basically solo. I mean, that's like the Zarya, that's a Zarya moment right there when you can do something like that. So On the side of Rocks, they try a lot of things. I'll put it that way. Um, you know, I have at one point here, Legend, their tank player comes out on the Doomfist on their attack. They do decently to get into the third phase, where they then bring out a Ryan Zarya, Sombra, McCree, and then later put Striker, who I think was their Sombra, onto the Widow, and then Striker then went on to the Reaper, as our hand decided to go on defensive Hanzo Jax. Like these,
What?
I'm not
Never
even
mind.
kidding you.
I'm just gonna let it go.
This is how
'cause
crazy
you
it
just
is.
tilted me with that.
Big story here is
Defensive console beforehand. All right, man.
yeah, in third phase too. In third phase. So, interestingly as well, I think Krong was running the Pharah on attack on A point as well, for the Rocks with a pharmacy combo. So that helped them get through the two phases, but that final phase they just couldn't do anything. Importantly, Legend not landing Earthshatter in that final fight meant that AF Blue looked pretty easily in safe holding. Volskaya, Rocks, listen, they were able to hold B point. That's great, right? Um, sorry, they were able to get close on their B point attack. They got up to 91.3%, including our hand, unfortunately, shutting it down with a 4-kill off respawn in order to prevent Rocks, as soon as it went bad, they didn't know what they're doing. They put Legend back on Doomfist. They put Try on Widow in a 2-3-1 format. I mean, Try is a support player, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So they had a Sombra, and then they went Widow for their support on attack. They're trying, Jax. They're trying different things.
I'm not
paying off.
We're so over budget on time. I'm not even gonna say anything, even though that sounds disgustingly bad. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, just leave it at that. We'll talk about the Rocks versus GC Busan. It's a similar story here. Rocks trying out a lot of different things. 2-3-1 attack on Bonnie with a McCree. Then switching to the Bastion. I remember mentioning this one to you on their second attack. And it eventually works for them, where they capture out A with that. But yeah, I should mention first map went to GC Busan, but ultimately map 2.
If you just go by the scores, was it 2-1 Nepal to GC Busan, and then 2-1 Nambani went to GC Busan, and then we ended up on Hanamura, which ended in a draw.
Yeah, I mean that's a long and short of that one, and then we end up on it ended up on a draw, but Rocks getting the flip in overtime on the Lijiang Control Center, important for them to earn a map, which was good. But unfortunately, when it comes down to Dorado, again, they're trying out too many different things. Didn't really work out for them. They were able to hold GC Busan in the third phase. But Rock's second phase attack not looking good here. Sorry, am I getting...
Yeah,
oh, no. I got them wrong. Rocks got held in the third phase. Gave up first checkpoint easily. Jax, they went to a somber defense in the second phase. That's what I wanted to mention here. Somber defense in the second phase for Rocks, not looking good. End up allowing GC Busan to push through in style with a 3-kill Meteor Strike coming through, 1 kill after for Striker's Doomfist, I think. Oh no, it's not Strikers. For GC Busan's Doomfist. So they close out, get the win off that.
Levelos, I'm sorry to say, Group D, LW Blue has completely ruined Group D with them backing out. Metabellum 1, Combox 3. We literally have no time to go into this Levelos. We are way over budget on time because we still have to do our rundown portion. So OGN, I'm sorry to move us along, but
no, that's fine. I mean, like these games are sort of similar story there. Just to summarize, Metabellum versus Conbox. Conbox looks like the better team. Metabellum, importantly, taking their first map win, which is the first meta team to take a map this season. To take a map, which is sad for Meta Athena, again, when they lost 3-0 in their one game so far. But, at least able to get that one. So, some signs out of Hexa doing well, but other than that, can't close out.
We move now to the rundown portion. If we still have listeners after the hour and 38 minutes that we have gone. But OPC Lepelo Season 2, I think we were both pretty big fans of OPC Season 1. We wanted to see what Flash Wolves are doing off of their, you have to say, disappointing performance at the World Cup, whereas blank Lepelos and Team Australia, they qualified. And then come to find out, Lepelos blank loses 2 of its team. Kiki and Atar, they go to the inactive side, I should say, sorry, and they pick up Hus and Hu. So, we've covered both of these players before.
But Blank's
But
not even having a match this weekend, actually, this past weekend.
I don't know how Blank got away without playing, but
They've-
since we're in a rush, I'm just gonna go through the regular season standings after week 1. Ardent, the Korean import
that
team from
didn't look great in Korea.
3-0 with a 9-0 map line Lepelos. Perhaps Korea's, the level of competition in Korea is a bit higher. AHQ Esports Club is in second with 2-1. Flash Wolves 1-0. Machi Esports 1-1. Mega Thunder, the team we were keeping an eye on because of their own American imports. They brought in 2 American DPS players, not DPS, but 2 American players and an American coach. And they're 1-2. And I'm sorry to say that I watched 2 of their games and I was not impressed. The team synergy is not there. I wonder what the communication is like because this was an all Thai team that is now a mixture of Thai and English. And the synergy just wasn't there between Moffitt, Graceful, and Oputo.
Also sitting at 1 and
got
2
these
though.
DPS players. Yeah, it's just I just wasn't impressed. I really had high hopes for them, but it's still early on in the season.
Hong Kong Attitude also sitting at 1 and 2, Blank at 0-0, and then bottom Jacks we have another Japanese team, Libelant Supreme. Had hopes for them. Right now seeing 0 and 3 Jacks. That's it for the standings right now. I did want to mention one other thing. 9 games were played. 7 of the 9 games were 3-0s.
And levels the other 2 were 3-1.
The other 2 were in 3-1. Yeah. So heck of a start in terms of 3 Overwatch. It's not quite the same ring as 4 Overwatch, but
I mean, looking at this though, next week we get blank 4 times Lepelos, so we'll see.
How many wins or losses they rack up quickly, because that's a heck of a start to first week to come out and have 4 games like that. So.
All right. From there, we move to the Overwatch Premier Series in China. So we're going from the Pacific. Well, still the Pacific, but we're going from
the next series. The 1246 won this last season. We've talked about the start of it. I believe we're into the second week of matches here, and we still have some undefeated teams.
We also have the reigning champion without winning a game, but
we have 2 completely defeated teams.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the start at the
4.
top, though, Lepelos. You got LGD and Miraculous Youngsters, both 4-0, both with an 8-1 scoreline. So
yeah, League N Esports 3-0, also sitting undefeated. So I lied, 3 undefeated teams at the top. FTD Club 3-1, Miracle Team 1, 2-1, Lucky Future 2-2, SKG 2-2, Vici Gaming also sitting at 2-2, and this is where we go into the 4 teams without wins. Jacks,
Lepelos, this Team CC, I'm telling you, man, this is. Listen, your owner just spent $20 million on the Shanghai slot. You cannot be 0-3 with the 1-6 map line.
Feels NRG, man. Feels NRG. Team Celestial 0-3, 1246 0-4. Oh my God, I did say that 0-4.
I just found a channel that they don't stream on Twitch or YouTube. I don't speak or read Chinese very well, but I believe I found a site with VODs that will allow me to look at some of this. I did want to look at this Miraculous Youngsters versus 1246, but Lepelos, I'm looking at Miracle Team 1, right? What has happened to 1246? They played so well in the finals, and okay, so they lost to Miraculous Youngsters 2-1. Okay, fine. They at least took a map. So you take a map off of this team that everybody rates pretty highly, and then you lose to Miracle Team 1-2-0?
I mean, maybe competition is higher in China than we have recognized.
I've got VODs now. I can watch some of them. We'll report back, but this is a long series.
Maybe we need to do the English casting for the OPS. I wonder if somebody is actually doing that. If you guys know anybody that is doing their own casting of the
Let
series,
me
do
know.
let us
I'll
know.
watch it.
We will
Yeah.
watch that. If you guys want us to do it, then send us money. And, but in all seriousness, let's move on, Jax, to discuss what's happening in South America. There's a couple of things it looks like. We have South American Overwatch Circuit Season 2 Division 1. So
I still don't know what the reward is for this tournament. We went through season 1. I don't know what the winners got, and now we're in season 2, and I still don't know what the winners get.
and this is interesting because it looks like it's not really group play. It's like two groups of brackets, double
Yeah.
eliminations, and we're early on results in Group A. Group A results right now. We have
Uprising
Sports
Esports
versus
and
Centaurus gaining
yeah,
that 2-1. The Brazilian team beating the Argentinian team there. In the Group B results, we have Keep Gaming beating out Backstabbed 2-1 there as well. So keep dropping a game against Backstabbed.
that to me, see,
Concerning.
it's that kind of. I mean, again, we don't know much about Backstab, but if we're just talking you can't. I'm sorry. Like if we want you to compete against Brazil Gaming House, you can't drop maps. You need to have dominant performances. But we'll see, Lepelos. It's
Still
very
early
on.
in that one, but let's go and talk about now the other Brazilian event you have listed here, which
There's
is
another one. Okay.
Overwatch Campeonato Brasileiro. I don't know. Listen. I'm not a linguist in any type. This one again, also 1 week in, so very early results right now. We're seeing Brazil Gaming House 1-0, WS Esports, Uprising Keep all 1-0 right now. On the flip side, 6 Esports, Avance Esports, North Lions Black, Dogma all 0-1.
The thing, Lepelos, but not just that. You talked about for OPC. I think these are all 2-0 wins.
Well, best
No
of 3,
one.
very very quick
Yeah,
games.
but no one is taking maps here, man.
A lot of these
Like,
are
okay,
not too
Lepelos,
close
like
either.
if you take a look, WS versus Dogma, right? 2-1, 1-0, and when that 1-0 was on Dorado.
All
Look
of
at
them
Brazil
not close.
Gaming House
Yeah.
versus
No, Black.
North Lions Black, right? What do you see? 1-0 Eichenwald, 2-1 Horizon Lunar Colony. Go UPR versus Avance, 1-0, 3-0. You go to Keep versus 6, 2-1, 3-0. These aren't competitive games at all.
That's a bad start for the series. We'll see. We'll see if there are middling teams or if it's a polarized down in this Campeonato
Okay.
Brasileiro.
Lepelos,
But
the
Jax,
Spanish is not good. Sorry.
my Spanish is non-existent. I apologize.
Portuguese, but yes.
Portuguese is non-existent either. It's even worse. I didn't even know the word existed. Let's talk about Japan, Jax. We know Liblan Supreme not doing well. Let's talk about their internal competitions, right? We have
Overwatch Championship Series Season 1, Lepelos. They have finished group play, and
we have the full results for that. Cyclops remain undefeated, 6-0. Really, six matches with 10 teams, Jax? Something seems weird about that. Okay. Anyways, whatever. They're 6-0 in their matches. That's really weird. I don't know how they did that. Actually, I'd have to go and look.
Format here.
I'm gonna get Jax going about formats again. Okay, Cyclops 6-0.
Yeah,
Yeah, they say Swiss groups. I know. We can talk about this in the post game. South Heaven 5-1. Crest Gaming 4-2. Detonator Gold 4-2, but ending in 4th based on rounds where they only had 14-8, whereas Crest Gaming had 15-10. RPG Kingdoms 3-3. Greenlee's 3-3, but losing on rounds to them. Team Encounter NG 2-4. Spring 2-4. Naturals Hokkaido 1-5, and Guided Bone Regeneration unfortunately sitting 0-6, hoping to get some of that regeneration going for themselves for next season maybe, because I don't think they made it through into the final 8 in the regular playoff format. Quarterfinals.
They didn't. We don't have the groups yet for the playoffs, but we'll probably add the finals in for coverage. I just noticed that the prize pool Lepelos is BattleNet dollars, so A rather small tournament here, but we do try to provide coverage
Of
for
things
all
that
the
we can.
regions that we can.
Which reminds me, we
Um,
didn't cover Scrub Cup this week, Jack. So that's something we can do in the
Lepelos, we
future.
are way over time, and we still have to look forward to. So I want you to click on at the top Overwatch Contenders NA. We're just going to take a look at the week 2 matches. We'll go through very quickly, Lepelos. We're not going to think long and hard about it. Starting out with Renegades versus Rogue. Does Rogue bounce back?
Rogue definitely bounces back. I think they're going to do well. I wouldn't be surprised if this is 4-0 Rogue over Renegades. What do you feel?
I concur for Rogue. Renegades, listen, I mean, Mangachu is the catalyst, and even then, if he plays well, I think Rogue will be. I say that, though, wins won't be there. They'll have the sub in, so we'll see. But I think we both take Rogue here. We have Congarna versus FNR GFE. Congarna, they won 4-0 last week. Was not an impressive 4-0. I'm saying 3-1 FNR GFE myself.
I think Congarna is going to do well. FNRG, FE is not going to come together as a team. I'm going to go with 3-1 for Congarna.
All right, next Lepelos, huge game. Envy versus FaZe. Listen, I cannot pick against Envy, but FaZe has the talent to beat them. Do they have the teamwork? Do they have the teamwork?
Do they have the teamwork? I don't think there's going to be an upset in this series. I feel like FaZe might take.
Will they take a map, Lepelos?
Yeah, I think FaZe will take a map, but it will probably be a 2CP map, Salt map.
Lepelos, I'm gonna go 2-2 draw. Actually, they said it cannot end in a draw.
So
it goes into a King of the Hill tiebreaker, which if that happens, you know what? I'm going out on a limb here, Lepelos. FaZe will beat Envy.
Oh wow! Okay, that's a big one. I'm saving these ones for the future, Jax.
Listen.
I'm putting them in chat so you can see them. Everyone.
Very hard on FaZe. FaZe is going to deliver because Jax has. Yeah, there we go. And Lepelos, Envision, versus Immortals in the last game. What do you have?
Listen, I think previous results would say. I mean, it depends. Like, how far back do you want to make your predictions based off of previous results? Formerly, previous to last week, you've got to give it to Immortals. And in recent results, as in the last week, Envision looking good. This is a hard one for me right now. I feel like
3-1 Immortals.
I'm gonna go Envision personally because I feel like they're peaking right now, and I think they're riding this high, and I think it's going to carry them through this at least one more game. Immortals.
I have to support the Los Angeles Immortals, being hometown guy. 3-1 Immortals. That takes us through the NA for North America. Sorry, the NA for North America. That's how tired I am, people. That takes us through the contenders for North America. Now we go to contenders for EU. Lepelos. Start out with 1-2-3 versus Bazooka Puppies. If this were last week, I would say Bazooka Puppies. Right now, I've got to go with 1-2-3.
I'm with you on 1-2-3, Jax. I think 1-2-3 just has a bit more depth to them than Bazooka Puppies right now, and that was shown last week.
I'm taking Gamers Origin or Singularity Ninjas.
I agree with you on this one. Gamers Origin showed up last week. Singularity, well, a good team. I don't think we'll have enough. I think they might take a map off Gamers Origin, but I don't think they'll be able to take a win off of Gamers Origin.
That takes us into E United versus Cloud9 EU. Both of them lost last week, and both I think have something to prove. Cloud9, they've got to show that Jack didn't waste his $20 million by buying the London slot, and then however much he's paid Aloysius to buy the team. And E United, Lepelos, they really got something to prove after losing to Gigante.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me actually when I think a little bit about it. I mean, I feel like E United should have this one in the bag.
4-0 E United for me. I'm sorry. I watched his stream a few times. If they run him on Tracer again and Nevix on the Flex DPS, they will not win. I'm sorry. He does not do it.
I feel like these issues are going to continue to last this week for the C9 team, as you just said there. So I'm with you on the EU United scene. We're both picking the same team again for this match. That's E United winning this.
Then Lepelos, that takes us into two winners from last week: Misfits versus Gigante. Misfits looked phenomenal. Gigante
came out and beat
I have to go with Misfits because I've got Linkser as my catalyst, and he's just not consistent yet. I
Yeah.
hope he proves me wrong and he shows up again, because that will make EU a very interesting region and make this series very interesting. But Logix is a proven tracer, Tavik is a proven DPS, and they're meshing very well. And Misfits 3-1.
I have to go with Misfits as well, simply because the tracer of Logix being a strong component into you talk catalysts. I'm tracer being one of the best catalysts you can have, and none other right now performing better than Logix. So for that reason, I'm going with Misfits as well. So we are not divided here when it comes to that EU scene, Jack. So we'll see if we're right when it comes to these predictions.
The big game that I just want to cover in OGN Lepelos comes from Group A. It will actually be next Monday night for us, 6 days from now. We have Runaway versus Lunatic High, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, is a must-win game for Lunatic High if they want to make it out of the group.
I feel like Lunatic High is going to have this one in the bag pretty much. Runaway, I think, obviously a good team. But I feel like Lunatic Highs, the more time you give them, the better they're going to get. And just because Runaway beat Meta Athena 3-0, I don't think they're going to be able to carry that forward into victory in the long term. I wouldn't be surprised if they take 1 or 2 maps off of Lunatic High, but I think Lunatic High will have a better performance against Runaway than they did against MVP Space.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at other team. I'm looking at OPC. There are no really big games that stand out to me off the top of my head. No blank Flash Wolves or Ardent matchups yet. And so we'll keep that coverage very light. I'm looking at the Overwatch Premier Series in China to see if there's anything going on there next week. Really, I'm waiting for LGD versus MY, and still don't get that. How are we 3 weeks in and we've not had LGD versus MY yet?
Yeah,
these people, like, I think the fix is in, but we'll keep an eye on that tournament. And Lepelos, I think that does it for our anniversary episode. We're now
pretty much
approaching
does.
2 hours.
Jax, I just wanted to mention about the OGN and LW Blue leaving. That already decides Group D. Group D is already decided because of that. Yeah, X6 going through, Combox going through. They have to play a game against each other, I think, in order to decide who goes out first and second. And that's in about 2 weeks. But other than that, Metabellum has already played their games. They're 1 and 2 because of the free win against LW Blue.
Oh man, that's
unable
cold.
Okay. to compete any further. So the best they were able to do was to get the one
but
map.
They automatically qualify for the next season.
And they automatically qualified for the next season because of that. So, I mean, good on them for. It's hard to say they even earned that.
Okay, since we're at the end of the show, I guess I'll throw in a little drama here. LW Blue annoys me with what they did, Lepelos. What is with them in cutting and doing things last minute? They cut Luna literally last minute. They leave OGN
hanging
18 hours before they're supposed to play their first game,
yeah.
And you tell them then? Come on, man, be professional. But
some definite shady stuff going on. We'll see.
I don't like that.
There's talk about them, like they mentioned about Overwatch League. I guess people were somewhat expecting maybe like the Boston team or something like that to pick them up or something, which we haven't heard news. Only heard
Huck was
news
just confirmed as general manager of the Boston team, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I mean, I guess you get a well-known esports name, and person that's been around, can clearly network. I've seen him on a number of things since his StarCraft days. So we'll see how that does for their team. Didn't seem to help Team Canada in the first World Cup though, but I'm just ribbing a bit. But Jax,
thank you guys for sticking with us for 2 hours.
Our voices are running out. We're clearly partying hard with our anniversary. We're taking out all of the producing team to get some drinks later. Actually, I don't know what to say, Jax. We're at a year. I didn't think we'd make it this long. I'm happy that we did. Happy that you guys are tuning in, and I hope you guys stick it with us. And as we continue to change things and try and improve things.
At OW Rundown on Twitter, at Lepelos. He's still waiting for people to call him out on saying Surefour is overrated
Are you still
and
bringing that
Timo
up,
needs to
Jax?
be benched.
Are you still bringing that
At
up?
Jax_Blake, all the good praise comes to me. But honestly, yeah, I do want some feedback on the format. Do you like the short format? Do you want us to go or focus more on in-depth coverage? If we do in-depth, we can cover 2, maybe 3 games a week. That's it, instead of talking about all the games like we did today. And even now, you see, this is a very condensed format, and we still ran over because there's so much. Like Will Jenkins says in chat, there's a lot of Overwatch going on right now in every corner of the world almost. Levels. I even went and looked for Middle East because they like to sneak in those Nvidia Middle East GeForce.
How many games have gone up?
I have not seen anything. So I'm trying to keep up to date on the Middle East scene, and I guess I need to go looking into South Africa because every other region in the world Brazil has 2 things going on, you know? So we will see. We'll try to cover it as best we can. This is Overwatch Rundown, episode 50. He's Lepelos. I'm Jax Blake. We'll see you next week for 51. Holy hell, that was long. My throat is tired.
Jax, I'm agreeing with you. Ending credit music for the both of us. Wish I could play this for you just so you know what it's on to. But yeah, no, another good episode, I guess, Jax, right? A year episode.